Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be doing my July wrap-up. I almost said June, and yet it's August. What is time? Today I will be doing my July wrap-up. Each week I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good in the world. This week I'd like to lift up Innovation Law Lab. I will make a donation and I will encourage you to check them out and like, follow, donate, or share as you are inspired. Innovation Law Lab is an organization comprised of activists, lawyers, and coders who are united to work for immigrant justice. They have some really great programs, including rapid interventions, collaborative work at the border to scale anti-detention work, defending asylum, and a information clearinghouse. I'll make a donation to Innovation Law Lab and I encourage you to check them out. This shirt is from a different immigrant justice group, Nation Solidarity Network, and it's a little bit pre-COVID sized, but I felt like it was appropriate for the nonprofit I've chosen today. I'm on a streak and I read 9 books again in July. For these 9 books, I'll review them and I'm going to go in order this time from worst to best. That's the plan. Let's get started. The first book is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is one of those where I just want to ask the author and the publisher why. Why could they not do better? Let me back up. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle involves this kind of Groundhog Day time travel element where Aidan Bishop is trapped in the same day over and over. And apparently he gets to do 8-day reboots where he has to figure out who murdered Evelyn Hardcastle. Otherwise, he's just doomed to repeat this day over and over again as he has for hundreds of times. Each day that he wakes up in a different person's body. And so he then goes through that day, but it's the same day, 8 days in a row, but a different person's perspective. It is really clever. The plotting was great, but I struggle with even giving this a 3-star because there are several pages. The fat shaming and the ableism and the dehumanizing of one of the perspectives that Aidan Bishop takes on is disgusting. This is just a book where I want to ask the publishers, why could they not have taken this well-plotted, great character arc, interesting time travel-ish mystery? Why did they have to chuck it in the bin by being awful humans and treating fat people and disabled people like garbage? Like, completely unnecessary. So I can't recommend this book. And I heard that it's going to be turned into a movie or TV. I don't know. I didn't look. And I hope not. And if they do, they sure as hell better fix that because it's just unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary. It was gratuitous and gross, unkind. Anyway, that is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I hope that he learns to do better, and I hope that somehow we can get publishers to and editors and all the people that read that before it went to print, they need to do better too. Okay, I'm going to stop ranting now, and I'm going to move on to the next book on my list. I read An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helen Tursten. This is translated from Swedish. I loved the concept of a mischievous older woman, and that's all I knew about it. Actually, I didn't even read the back. Basically, Maud lives on her own in this apartment and is sneaky and kills people. That's not a spoiler because that's on the back, I believe. Yeah, I mean, she disposes of them. So, and I thought the first few chapters were pretty good. They're short stories, actually. So I thought the first few short stories were pretty good. I appreciated the way she plotted the murder and carried it out. But then it fell apart, honestly. I only gave this a 3-star. The last few chapters are on the same murder, and the first part is from a neighbor's perspective, and then it's her perspective, and then an epilogue from some detective's perspective. That's where it all fell apart. Before then, for me, the stories were cute. They didn't really tie together truly. But then when we got to the third one, it just was nonsensical. Like the reasoning behind the murder, I mean, it just didn't even make sense. And then to have like the different perspectives, I don't know. It did not work for me, but maybe it'll work for you. So I gave this a 3-star. The next book I wrote, slip of the tongue. The next book I read was Write Characters Your Readers Won't Forget. I gave this a 3.5 stars. It was really pretty good. It's a nice short nonfiction with some exercises and examples of how to dive into your character's development as you write them. great examples, great exercises. I probably would have gotten into it more if I did the exercises. I shouldn't confess that on here, should I? Anyway, but yeah, so you might want to check it out if you are an author looking for ways to create more interesting characters. So there you go. The next 3 books that I read are all, I'm calling them all 4 stars. They were all really great. So the first one was Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This was recommended from a video by Leanne at Literary Diversions. And I don't know if you recall my previous video or one of the other videos that I chose this because of the buddy dynamic that I was looking for between 2 of the characters. The story is about Royce Melbourne and Hadrian Blackwater, who are a thief and a mercenary assassin who are hired for this job to go and steal a sword. And then they get framed for the murder of a king and adventures ensue. This 100% worked for me in terms of the buddy banter that I was looking for. Royce and Hadrian were great characters. Right from the start, we saw that they were talented, they had great chemistry, they were funny. I just really enjoyed them. The whole story, it was an interesting story. It was a great fantasy. Some of the storyline then involves these kingdoms and this fantasy world and some of the like machinations of like empire building and drama at the political level and so forth, and that part just wasn't as interesting to me, and I just kept wanting to get to the part with Royce and Hadrian again because I just really enjoyed those characters. I'm gonna give this a 4-star. It's the start of a series, so I'll probably read more, but for now I've got the taste of what I was looking for. The next 4-star read was The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. This is the story of Esme, a small girl who grows up in the scriptorium in Oxford, where her father, a widower, is part of the team that is working on the Oxford English Dictionary. The book covers the storyline from her childhood through the suffrage movement and World War I until she's an adult, and kind of her journey of growing up in this world of all of these words. And she's definitely a child for whom words are just really powerful, and she seeks out words and how to define her experiences. The perspective of the book is really like looking for the experiences of people whose words are left out, whose stories are left out, whose perspectives are ignored. There's some just really great scenes as she's learning about the women's suffrage movement, as she's learning about class issues. She sees some of the impact of World War I and the trauma that it inflicts on soldiers and mothers and those left behind and all of that. It's a really good book. The ending just really hits it home for me. There was one character trait, a little character flaw that Esme has that really worried me at the beginning, and I thought it would become a bigger deal, and so I was a little bit suspicious of her as a protagonist, but I got over that. I will give a content warning that there's an adoption storyline in this. As someone who has not experienced adoption in my family, I can't speak to whether or not this is handled well, but just an FYI that that's in there. The author's note describes how a lot of the characters in the book are based on real people, real women whose stories maybe didn't really get told as in the story of the development of the Oxford English Dictionary. And so she, fills in kind of fictionalized little historical fiction, uses those women to fill out the story. And there's a lot of the men that she describes are also real people, with a fictionalized bent on it. So it's really a great book, and I would recommend it. So thank you to Camilla at Hasty Books for that recommendation, and I look forward to more recommendations from you as well. The next book in this section of 4 stars is actually also recommended by another booktuber from Mason in the Dark. This next book is Sleep Tight by Rachel Abbott, and this is book 3 in the DCI Tom Douglas series. This is a thriller that is really interestingly put together. At first, Olivia Brooks calls the police because her husband has gone missing. Then he turns up a few hours later. A few years later, he calls the police that she's missing. The police detectives involved in this remember a story from several years prior when Olivia also called the police because her boyfriend, a different man, went missing and he never turned up again. So there's this story of well, where is she now? She doesn't show up in a few hours like her husband had a few years prior. There's children that are also missing. So are they in danger? What's going on? It's really cleverly written with a lot of twists and turns. This is a book that I would read again. The first time I read it, I was definitely anxious, particularly because there are some conversations about intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and gaslighting about that violence. And I was really uncomfortable about how it was going to turn out. Honestly, stories about violence against women where that drives the plot are just it's just so overdone, and I was worried about where this was going to go with that. I did not feel that it went into a storyline about it that I was uncomfortable with. If that's something that you are wary of, check out the content warnings or read a little bit more about the book before you read it. But I thought it handled it well, and I liked the ending. I liked the twists and turns, and then the next twist, and then the other turn, and I thought it was a really good book. So thank you, Mason, for recommending that for me. I look forward to checking out more in the DCI Tom Douglas series by Rachel Abbott. Okay, now I had 3 5-star picks for July, and that made me very happy. There was a nonfiction and 2 fiction. So we'll start with the nonfiction. That was Disability Visibility, First-Person Stories from the 21st Century, edited by Alice Wong. I cannot recommend this highly enough. This is a compilation of essays from several different authors from a variety of different experiences. These are all of the different authors. You can see how many there are. There's also a suggestion of further reading in the back. The variety of authors that Alice has solicited to submit to this book is great in terms of age, life experience, gender, race, sexual orientation, and disability. So there are so many different types of experiences in this book, so many different ways of approaching their storytelling. It is just really incredible. There are some pieces here that I highlighted. So here's one in a story by A.H. Rome, Why My Novel is Dedicated to My Disabled Friend Maddie. And A.H. writes, "We need more disabled voices, not just because disabled people are brilliant and talented and have so much to offer and say, but also because disabled people face an incredible amount of dehumanizing ableism that shapes and destroys their lives. And one of the best ways to combat that is through stories." There's another quote that I highlighted. There's several pieces that I underlined here. This is in Still Dreaming Wild Disability Justice Dreams at the End of the World by Leah Lakshmi Piepzna Samarashina. That essay is about how the ways in which the disabled community survives through the adversities that they face really makes them the best equipped to survive the upcoming ecological crises that we're all going to face. So she writes, "However, I know we have continued through total adversity before, and I know this. We have what we always have had and more. We know how to mourn, to pray, to persist, to find resistance in the smallest of spaces, to find each other and make homes alone and together, to lay down in the middle of the road and keen with grief and rage and block traffic, to crip innovate, to do some shit that no one says is possible, to do something wild and unexpected under the radar, to keep going." So again, I strongly encourage you all to take time to find and read this book. I'm so glad I did, and I believe that it has changed me, and I hope to continue to grow in my advocacy and my listening to the stories of the disabled community. The next book that I want to absolutely rave about is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. So I bought this book because I knew it was about a trans boy, and so I wanted to check it out. I didn't know much more than that going into it. It was so good. Oh, it was so good. This is a fiction, fantasy, LGBTQIA plus romance, young adult novel. Yedrel is part of a Latino community in East LA, and this community particularly is gifted in like mystical powers, if you will. And so the men in the community are the brujo, and they see spirits. They are able to cut the tethers of spirits that are like caught in this world, especially if they go evil. Maligno, the brujo, will patrol for spirits that have turned bad and then cut them free and let them loose. And then the women in the community, the bruja, they are healers. So this is the story of Yadriel and Maritza. So Yadriel is a trans boy, and so as such, his family wants him to be a bruja because he was assigned female at birth, but he wants to be a brujo. And so then, determined to prove himself, he and his best friend go through the ceremony to become a brujo, and realizes they can these families can feel when someone in their community dies. So they feel that Miguel, his cousin, has been murdered. So then he summons the spirit that he finds, because now he's a brujo. He's gone through the anointing ceremony, and the spirit that he summons is not Miguel. It is the school's bad boy, Julian. It's so funny and sweet. This follows the adventures of then Yadriel and Maritza, and then the ghost, Julian, that's following them around as they try to figure out what happened to Miguel. But then Julian wants to figure out what happened. He wants to make sure his friends are okay. And so they go on all of these adventures. They're trying to solve the mystery. It's so good. The trans rep was perfect. The Latinx rep seemed really rich. It's around the time of Dia de los Muertos, and so the descriptions of preparations for those ceremonies and feasting were really good and lush. The character arcs were really great. So yes, I definitely recommend this book to you 5 stars. Okay, my final book for July is another 5-star. So good. This was A Master of Jinn by P. Djeli Clark. This story is set in 1912 Cairo in an alternative timeline in which there is like some steampunk elements and there are jinn and other magical creatures. The protagonist is Fatma al-Sharawi, who a few years ago graduated top of her class and is now a lone female investigator in the Ministry of Alchemy, Enchantments, and Supernatural Entities. At the start of the story, we have this person claiming to be this revered other character and murders several Englishmen living in Egypt. And so there's still like the aspects of colonization and so forth in this alternate timeline. And so these Englishmen had come and are murdered by this unknown character claiming to be Al-Jahiz, who people thought was dead. Fatma is paired with a partner. She resists this, but she's given another female investigator as her partner. So we follow Fatma as she tries to figure out who killed all of these people in this conflagration at the beginning of the story. We see her struggle with getting this new partner when she wants to be alone. We see her struggle with her girlfriend who comes and goes and kind of has maybe commitment issues, one might say. The world building is gorgeous. The storyline is really great. The characters are incredible. There is one character who reappears throughout the story for different purposes. Their exchanges when Fatma and this character interact each time they appear are hilarious and great but also like really move the plot and really pivotal in some places and just fabulous. This story was so masterfully told. I loved it. Definitely recommend it. What more can I say? Queer rep, detective, fantasy, amazing characters, funny, laughing out loud, well plotted, beautifully written. Yeah. I need to read more of P. Djeli Clark's backlist because I've also seen really great recommendations for his other books, so I'm definitely excited to check him out, and I would encourage you to do so as well. So that is my list. Have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? Have you experienced any of the kind of frustrations that I voiced at the beginning with books where publishers, authors, and editors and agents all should have known better and stopped dehumanizing people? How about on the other end, have you had experiences where the The book was just so great with the representation and the character and the plot and the story and the description and the tone, all of that. I'd love to continue the conversation. Please feel free to like, comment, follow, subscribe, all the things, I guess. And I hope you have a wonderful day and happy reading.